And finally, on the day that starts the NFL season, week 1, it is the BackRow Cincinnati Bengals show, brought to you by Fansided.com, hosted by Josh Miller and, of course, beautiful Brad Borchers. We are going to be breaking down all storylines and all analytics and everything that's going into the Bengals week 1 matchup with the Cleveland Browns. Brad, thank you so much for joining on back in the BackRow.
Thank you, Josh, for having me again. It's great to be here. Let's get this party started. Week 1, no more BS.
This is it.
This is it. We can talk. We can start talking real football.
The Cincinnati Bengals play football this Sunday at 1:00 in Cleveland against a weird. Let's just call it. I'm going to call it a weird Browns team. I'm not calling them good, and I'm not calling them bad. I can see them being both. I can see the Browns making a serious run at the wild card. I don't think they're going to be even close to the division winners because I think Cincinnati will be. But I don't want to. I don't want to say that they're good, but I also don't want to write them off right away because I honestly, I just don't really know with this team. What do you make of the Browns coming into week 1?
Everybody is just assuming that Deshaun Watson's going to be 2020 or 2019 Deshaun Watson. He hasn't been that guy in 4 years. So that's a huge question mark. When you have a big question mark at the quarterback position,
that's already a start.
Yeah, that's already a start. I think as a whole, the psyche of the team is very fragile. I think it could snowball out of control quickly. I think it's more important for them to win week 1 than it is for Cincinnati. Cincinnati has dealt with it last year. They know how to bounce back from this kind of stuff. They've dealt with it. They've dealt with the target on their back just fine. Right. Cleveland, on the other hand, there's no more excuses for them. Oh, well, we have Jacoby Brissett for 10 games. And, no, it's put up or shut up time in Cleveland. I mean,
it is.
If they don't get anything done this season, it's almost tear it down and start over again with nothing to show for it and a $230 million albatross around their neck.
Yeah, man. I think you put it perfectly. It's just this game feels like it's way bigger for Cleveland than it is Cincinnati, and I think a lot of it is because we know who the Bengals are. Like we have a very good idea of who they are. We don't really get worried with losing early or losing, in small spurts because we know that the team's going to bounce back and that the culture of the team, they take loss as well. It's kind of a weird, good thing to have, but taking loss as well is huge. And you mentioned this could spiral out of control. And I think, you got to question one person. You got to question Kevin Stefanski. If he starts out, let's say 1-5, 1-4, you can't tell me he's not going to be on the hot seat because it's not like Stefanski's really blown anybody out of the water since he's been here.
Well, I mean, he won their first playoff game since, I was pre-pubescent. So that has to go a long way in Cleveland. And, they had so much turnover for so many years.
It didn't with Baker.
That's true.
It didn't with Baker.
And that's why they're a laughing stock franchise. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Bengals fan and, the clowns and stuff like that. Since the new inception of the Browns, they've been a joke.
Right. They've been terrible. We said it. You said it. They finally won their first playoff game. Forget win a playoff game, been to a playoffs and forever.
Right.
And I think also too, think about this with Stefanski. They paid Deshaun Watson a lot of money. I think that the organization is going to be much more willing to move off of Stefanski in order to find something or salvage something with Deshaun Watson's contract.
Completely agree. And Stefanski's a run for first guy. And
his offense is a little outdated.
And that's when you got Nick Chubb, you had Kareem. You had the horses in the stable to do it. and it worked for him. And all you need is a game manager like a Baker Mayfield. Mm-hmm. You don't need
that impact
top 5 quarter. I don't even know. Deshaun Watson is such an anomaly, and you can't categorize him because there isn't enough sample size since 2019.
Yeah, and the sample size we do have, especially from last year, is awful. I mean, he looked and played terrible. So, I mean, are we going to see that again? Is this a continuation? It's not like we're hearing out of the Browns camp that he's really blowing it up, because he's not. I mean, there's videos going around.
There's that one video of him throwing it in the net from 5 yards to win a stuffed animal at a carnival or something.
Yeah, but then there's another one where he throws a ball up, and the caption is so great. The caption is like, "Oh, Deshaun Watson's gonna be so good. Look at this accuracy." It was like a punt to the defender, and he ran it back to the house. So it's really not like Deshaun's really impressing anybody, And I do think the Browns' defense is good, not great. It's good, not great.
They're stout. The Denzel Ward situation.
Yep. Denzel Ward right now listed as questionable on ESPN right now for the game. So is Juwan Thornhill at safety and Marquise Goodwin at wide receiver, And we kind of talked a little bit about it yesterday with Travis Kelce hyperextended his knee. It was like, there's no real reason for Travis to play tonight against the Lions in week 1. It doesn't really make any sense. Nope. But with the Browns, that's a different story. This is a divisional game. You got to set the tone for the entire season. If they're questionable, these guys are going to play.
And like what we started off with, it's more important for the Browns to win this game than it is for the Bengals. And don't get me wrong, I want to be 1-0, just like everybody else. Mm-hmm. We, since Cincinnati. We were talking it, get through these first 2 division games, and then it opens up till week 10.
Right.
Every game they're going to be favored in. Well, they're going to be favored in every game up until week 10.
Right. They're favored in Cleveland, and I want to talk to you about those numbers too. They're going to be favored against Baltimore at home. I'm with you. They're probably going to be favored for the first 10 weeks of the season, at least until they play Kansas City or when they play Buffalo. And even then,
Buffalo's at home. We're going to be favored now.
Yeah, right. And even
maybe
then,
on the road in Jacksonville, depending on how Jacksonville's playing.
Mm-hmm. And again, you and I.
Yep. Primetime road underdog. I get that. Road favorite primetime is that's a tough purd. That circle that. The Bengals are only going to stumble 4 times, 5 times max this season. Right. At Jacksonville is one that I get to see taking the L.
Yeah,
on that one.
And the good thing is about this team, I don't think, and I think Jacksonville is enough on everybody's radar that we're not going to overlook them. We're going into this game like this is going to be a fight.
You never overlook prime time.
Right.
This isn't your Andy Dalton Bengals.
Yep. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? You want to talk about a great change in culture? I mean, you got to take a look at winning in primetime. The Bengals primetime games over these past 3 years, I would say past 2 years, I mean, they've just been night and day much better.
Oh yeah. And the games they felt, there was the Halloween debacle, but
we don't want to talk about that.
That's the aberration. That's the anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
The wins used to be the anomaly. You needed a Drake Kirkpatrick pick 6 or something out of the ordinary,
right,
to win on prime time. Now, I consider, regardless of when the kickoff is, any playoff game's a prime time game.
Yeah,
because the whole country's watching. That is prime time.
That is going to be
5-2.
That is going to be another big thing at that point. At this point too, the Bengals probably had it last year as well, but I think this year even more so. The nation's going to be watching them on every which way, every snap, and every snap's going to be analyzed. And how are they going to deal with this pressure? We said that time and time again, it feels like this locker room's got a great vibe to it. And they know exactly how to deal with this, and they got guys that deal in winning. That's why you go out and get Ted Karras and Alex Kappa, and you get guys that have been around winning for pretty much their entire career. I mean, hell, look at the Bengals offense. You got Joe Burrow, LSU national champion, MVP Heisman, Jamar Chase. I mean, if Joe Burrow wasn't the Heisman.
And Blitnikoff winner.
Yeah.
T. Higgins played in a national title game. I don't know if
Clemson.
he was on one of their
He won.
national title. Did he win one?
His freshman year? He won one.
Yeah, but he was around it. He absorbed
he's
it.
around the
He
winning.
learned it.
Right.
Karras has Super Bowl rings.
Mm-hmm.
And, Orlando Brown Jr. has a Super Bowl ring.
Super Bowl rings.
Irv Smith, Alabama.
Jordan Battle,
Alabama.
They're Turner, Michigan. DJ Turner, the cornerback.
Yeah, they didn't win a national champion. Yeah. They
didn't win a national championship, but they won.
He won a Big Ten.
Yeah,
he won in Columbus.
Okay,
I know where you were going with this.
You know what I mean. He won a national champion, but he's won a lot of games. He knows how to win. That's another thing I think with the draft process. That's one thing that they look for more than they've ever done in their past. Is they look for
that has been a big shift.
It has.
They used to try to get these flyers more smalls, a lot more Yoshis.
Yeah.
Especially in the later rounds. Mm-hmm. They're going to pick the marginal cornerback from the big school that comes from a winning culture than the all MAC player that was on a 4-6 Kent State team.
Right.
Or, 4-8 Kent State team kind of thing. That they're drafting winners and they're drafting culture guys. It's so nice to draft best player available,
BP,
best culture fit available, and I know we've talked about this offline. I think culture was the reason why they didn't bring Eli Apple back.
Yeah, I mean, look, listen, I think. I am going to be on record, and I'll say this right now, and I said this before. I think Eli Apple is the most underrated player during that Bengals Super Bowl run and last year. He was phenomenal. He played his job, and he played to his ability. And I think people misunderstand that, like he blew assignments. No, he didn't blow assignments. Just there's a ceiling to what he can do.
Cooper Kupp was better.
And prime, he would have scored over everybody.
That Super Bowl, he kept Cooper Kupp in check.
Yeah, it kept him chained. Right.
It was not Eli. They wouldn't have even been in that game if it wasn't for Eli Apple.
Exactly. They wouldn't have, because Eli Apple made the big play on Tyreek Hill against Kansas City to close out the half, which later in turn turned into the Bengals winning because
that was the play of the game.
That was the play of the game.
That was the play of the game.
That was it. And we go back to
we're talking the same language when it comes to Eli Apple. He was signed as a CB4 when they signed him, and for the majority of his tenure in Cincinnati, he was CB1 or CB2.
Yeah,
and he balled out. He had brain farts. Every defensive back in the league has brain farts unless your name is Sauce Gardner.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I did that especially for you. But it's also true.
We are going to have to talk Bearcats later too, but I do want to get heavy all pretty much Bengals today. No, I 100% agree with you on that. And, now if you put Eli Apple where he's at in his career on this Bengals roster, he's probably CB3, CB4, maybe that veteran guy in the locker room. At this point, it was just
he's not that influence veteran, and that's why he got his walking papers.
Right. And that's okay.
They could have afforded what he signed with Miami.
Right.
They could have afforded that. That wouldn't hurt their cap, anything like that. They could have brought Eli back.
Yeah.
And they specifically said no. And I promise you it wasn't because of what the tape said. It's what was happening behind closed doors. We love the pettiness and we love some of the jawing that they do, but they do it in fun spirit. Eli doesn't. Eli does it in a way where it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. I would say
he's not a culture guy. And I love Eli Apple. I love Eli Apple.
He played hard. He played physical. And he played every game. He was available.
He gave us the fake swagger we need. He gave us the fake swagger we needed until we got the swagger we have now.
Ooh, that's a good one. And Eli Apple should always, and he won't be, and it's unfair, but he should always be remembered as, one of the best parts of this 2-3 year run that the Bengals have been on, and he really should be, but
Absolutely.
he's not going to be.
Absolutely.
And that sucks, but he really should be. So
Mm-hmm.
Eli Apple, I know you're listening to this. So
tip of the cap, Eli. We love you. You know,
keep your back on, keeping us in check. Absolutely, my God. So, Brad, let's head back over to Week 1's matchup. The Bengals. What would you say ESPN gave the Bengals percentage to win the game?
Oh, you know, I didn't do research today.
Okay, I know. I'm looking at.
I'd put it at about 60-40.
You put it at 60-40. You're pretty damn near close. The Bengals are at 59.2% to win the game. The Browns at 40.5%. I'm assuming that missing point decimal percent is for a tie. Yeah. I think that's pretty accurate. I think that's about right. And you know, it does. The Bengals.
The Browns are gonna if everybody plays to their ability.
Mm-hmm.
Bengals win. The Browns are gonna have to win a couple of those 50-50 plays.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna have to win the game of inches. The extra chain link on a 3rd and short. Yeah. They either stop Jody or Nick Chubb gets that extra foot.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland has to win more of those to ultimately win the game because on paper we're a better offense.
Right, absolutely. And I'm pulling up our
defenses is a push. It's hard not to love our defense, but we're so inexperienced at safety. I can see.
They are, they are right. They are. Though what they lack in experience. Hopefully, what we're hoping for is that they make up for it with fast, physical, and playmaking ability.
Speed can cover up a lot of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And we have an enormous edge in special teams.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And as we know, special teams is huge.
Crucial.
Just look at the Bengals last 2 years. Look at the big games they've lost.
Mm-hmm.
Look at some of the games that somehow they won, and it always came down to special teams.
Right, absolutely. And it's going to come down to special teams. It's also going to come down to the intangibles too, which is going to be penalties. It's going to be turnovers. That's going to be that's going to be where this game is won. If the Browns can somehow force a couple bad turnovers, an interception, a fumble, then keep hanging around. Then I could definitely see them winning this game. I mean, that's the beauty of the NFL. When you let a team hang around, like the Bengals have done before, when you let them hang around, they come back and bite you in the ass.
The whole 2021 season.
Oh my God. Terrible. All right, Brad, I got the betting lines pulled up for the Bengals-Browns game this week. The Bengals right now currently are sitting at a -1.5 going into Cleveland to win the game. -1.5. What do we feel about that?
That road favorite, I'll take an Evan McPherson kick at the gun to win it.
Absolutely. Yeah, right, exactly. And it might come down to that because, again, that's the AFC North, too.
And that's the AFC North, and we've discussed this. All we want is to be in a position to win the game. We can be losing with 5 minutes to go. If we have the ball with 5 minutes to go and we're within a score of winning, I'll take that 17 weeks in a row.
All day.
Because more often than not, Joe Burrow is going to figure out a way to get it done.
Yeah, it's going to come down to, if we have the ball last, we're going to win the game. And again, we go back to the game against Pittsburgh last year. If Evan McPherson just makes an extra point.
That wasn't Evan McPherson's fault. We all know that.
Well, you know what? We should have put him in that position at a rate.
No. If Clark Harris was healthy, we win the game.
Well, yeah, I know. That's it. That was a huge loss losing Clark Harris last year. That was another big health-wise loss that the Bengals took that I don't think a whole lot of people look to when they look at the Bengals 2022 season.
That is one of those things you never want to know the long snapper's name. Unless, of course, it's Clark Harris.
Well, yeah.
You look like the guy from Office Space. But what is it? Cal Adamitis now?
Adamitis?
Adamitis?
Yeah.
From one of your favorite schools.
Where's he from? I forget.
Isn't he from Pitt? Crib Keeper, where are you?
Ew. Gross. It says eat shit Pitt week. All right. They can eat it. All right, the Bengals anytime touchdown scorers. They got if you parlay Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, and Nick Chubb for anytime touchdown score and the Bengals money line, you could bet $10 to win $92. So, I mean, I love that. I do love that same. He's from Michigan. I do love that same game parlay. I mean, obviously, I don't want to bet for the Browns to score, but I do think
they're going to score. It's the NFL.
At some point, Nick Chubb is going to find the end zone. At some point, he is. Whether it's he busts one up the middle or he, just fights for a touchdown because it get like you said, it's the NFL, and this is the first week that they're really knocking heads.
Yeah.
Another thing.
Are you concerned about Burrow and rust, or do you think 12 days is enough?
I do. It's not that I worry so much that I know it's going to be there. You know what I mean? It's not that I worry. I feel like rust is going to be there. I think with anybody is going to be there to jump in 12 days, just like that. I think it's still going to be there. I think it's going to be less on there than it was last year. I think it's going to be less rust than last year. I think Burrow's had plenty of time.
He basically took off the hospital gown and suited up last year.
Right.
This year, he was in film study. He got to help curate the game plan. Last year, I mean, he couldn't walk till 2 weeks before the season. So, he's in much better shape this year around.
Absolutely. So let's talk Joe Burrow. So Joe Burrow obviously looks like he's going to play. He's already been in practice and in full. I think he's good to go. I heard the Bengals had an intense practice this week or today, and that's good. So
Kelsey Conway
seems like they're ready to rumble. So with Joe Burrow, how many yards do you think he's going to be throwing through through the air?
Well, the score dictates passing.
Yep.
But I could easily see him get 300 yards and a couple tutties.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, but okay, you could see that. But what do you think is going to happen?
I think I put myself on record weeks before the calf injury saying 307 and 2 touchdowns. So I'll stick with that.
You're going to stick with 307 and 2 touchdowns. I'm going to say Burrow throws for 250. But he throws for 2 touchdowns and runs 1 for a touchdown. So I do think he's got 3 touchdowns in total and 250 yards. That's a good fantasy day, and that's a great fantasy. And that's a great day for the Bengals right there. If Joe Burrow can do that, and again, it's going to be all about keeping him upright, not so much just for injury's sake, but just for the offense's sake, to keep it rolling and to not take steps back and not have plays going backwards.
Can our running game this year get us in front of the chains?
Yeah.
Last year we struggled with that tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
We need a lot more 2nd and 6s, 3rd and 2s, especially with the tender calf, and that Browns D line, so they're not pinning their ears back on 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 10.
Mm-hmm.
A key of this game is can we get in front of the chains on first down?
Yep.
And that has been an Achilles heel for the Bengals offense at times.
Yeah, it has. I mean, the running game has to take a step forward this year. It really can't go backwards. They go backwards, they're going to go backwards in terms of the team itself. I mean, having that incredible run game is not only going to open up the passing game, it's going to open up the game in general. Be able to control the ball, to control the clock, keep Cleveland's offense off the field.
Mm-hmm. Who is our passing back this year? Last year it was Pirine.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're going to be trusting Charlie Jones, the new rookie coming in.
Chuck Sizzle's going to line up in the backfield, or Chase Brown.
I mean, it's going to be.
Or is it Travion Williams? Is it Chris Evans? Who can pick up the blitzing Sam backer to chop him, to give Burrow that extra half a second to get, Boyd for 9 yards or Higgins for 11 yards when we need 8 instead of Boyd for 6 or Irwin for 5, or those microseconds. And when we're talking who our passing back is, that's how complete this team is.
I'm gonna throw another one out
we
there.
are so nitpicky with trying to find flaws in this team. It's fantastic. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw another thing out there too. What if Joe Mixon takes a step forward in his passing game? Because now he probably knows his shelf life is up. He did take a contract cut. He did, to stay with the team and
he wants
to better help the team. And he wants jewelry, and he probably knows. He's got a lot of miles on his legs. So what's one way that he can be even more helpful to the team? And that's by taking a step forward in the passing game and being able to pass block a lot better than where he has in recent years past.
And I'll be honest with you, I haven't heard anything saying that, oh, Joe Mixon looks like he's really worked on his, pass blocking technique or anything like that coming out of camp.
Yeah.
I think Trevion Williams was supposed to be the guy, and then he had an ankle, and we really didn't get to see it. And, Chris Evans isn't that guy. And Chase Brown didn't show that he was that guy. So, it's not the end of the world. We just signed basically another offensive lineman. What is this guy that we got from Pittsburgh that's 6'7" and 260 tight end to the practice squad?
Oh, Noah Gentry.
Yeah. He's supposed to be phenomenal at blocking. There are
what if you line him up? Right.
There's solutions to the problem. Line them up in a fullback kind of role on the third down passing downs.
Yeah.
And
or you're running 5 wide, or you're perfecting and specializing in 5 wide, which the Bengals have done a good job.
Don't zero me.
Right. Don't zero him. The Bengals have done a good job of going 5 wide. And at this point, if the Browns want to send
tools, they got the tools.
You think they don't got a quick get off? They got the quickest get off in the game. Brad. You can't see
the Bengals line. The Bengals line up 5 wide on 3rd and 7. Who gets doubled? Jamar.
Yeah.
Then do you double Boyd? Do you double T?
Do you go after Irv? There's so much you can do.
Safeties have to take. Safeties have to take two of these dudes. Who is the Sam linebacker, or I guess your nickel, your cornerback 1 and 2, your 2 safeties. Give me Trent Irwin against a safety all day long,
all day, and then give me Yoshivas there too.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be an integral part of the offense tomorrow. I think the Zach Taylor.
You think he's going to get more snaps than expected?
Yeah, I also said tomorrow. I meant Sunday. Sorry about that.
I know.
Listener. I do think Andre is going to get more snaps and more playing time and more targets than people might realize. Zach Taylor, one of the things that he does so well is how much he gets the guys that are involved in the offense, like everybody on the field. It's not just Jamar. It's not just T. Higgins, because he knows he can't keep going to that well. That's why you looked at it last year when the Bengals were playing the Browns and Joe Mixon we do a flea flicker, and who's streaking down the field? It's not Jamar Chase or T. Higgins, it's Trent Irwin. Got a touchdown?
T didn't play in that game.
Okay, fair point.
Yeah, we torched him with Trent Taylor and Trent Irwin.
Yeah. Who got the second touchdown in Buffalo? It was Hayden Hurst, because he looked off T. Higgins and looked off Jamar and then threw it up top. That was the play design the whole time. So
we've been talking offense for 10 minutes and we haven't mentioned Irv Smith yet.
Ooh, we haven't, and we'll get there.
We're stacked,
man.
Stacked.
This is a hell of a Bengals team. Do you think in your entire time of watching the Bengals, this is the best team you've ever seen? And I know we haven't even played a snap yet.
It might be the best roster. Okay. The 88 team didn't need to rely on as many young dudes for starting positions as this team, but this team was more athletic. The 88 team was really special.
Yeah.
They were 12-4. They steamrolled everybody to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That Super Bowl, if you do your history and fact finding on it, that field they basically played in a cow pasture with the conditions that field was in. And the Bengals were way faster than the Niners, and that sloppy ass field slowed them down. And you lose,
Tim Cromrock.
almost an all pro nose tackle on the, first or second series of the game.
Yeah. They still probably should have won the game.
They were Lewis Billups, RIP, dropped interception away from winning that game.
Yeah. That was it. I mean, that was it. So now here's our goal of this team. Can they get that first Super Bowl? We talked about it last week too. I mean, what a legacy to leave behind for all these players. Not only are you getting your first Super Bowl, you're getting a franchise of Super Bowl that's been around since the early 60s.
Late 60s, yeah.
68, 69.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of legacy, that means a lot to even the guys who have rings with other organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not too many franchises left that haven't done it yet. And there's nothing wrong with it. At least we've been to 3, Cleveland.
Right.
It would be because everybody remembers the first.
The first one.
Yeah. More so. I bet diehard Pats fans probably remember that. The Rams, the team that beat the Rams, a lot easier than the team that beat the Falcons, for example. I mean, they have so many of them. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. I saw something on there that Bill Belichick and his longtime girlfriend finally broken up. What do you think that means for Billy B?
That he's going to coach 5 more years?
Probably, yeah. Probably.
If Robert Kraft will let him. Or maybe it will help mend the relationship with Robert Kraft, because then they can start hanging out together and getting their Deshaun Watson on. That's what's amazing. The Patriots didn't go after Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Come on. That was probably in poor taste, but come on.
Come on, Brad. Come on, Brad. I was looking at it from a football
you were looking at it analytically.
I was looking at it analytically, Brad. You get your mind out of the gutter, Brad.
I was thinking Robert Kraft and Deshaun would be peas and carrots together.
Oh shit. Brad, I want to ask you a quick question here. I want to ask you who's going to be the most impressive this year. You are not allowed to name Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, or T. Higgins.
On offense?
We'll start on offense and then we'll go to defense.
Who's
going to be the most impressive this year?
Well, I read recently that Cordell Volson put on 15 pounds of muscle.
Apparently, he's been looking really, really, really good this year.
And Jody said, he thinks he's running behind a future Hall of Famer. He said that during camp. But it's hard to really get into the analytics of O-line play, even though I know it's the most valuable position on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Yoshi looked so good in preseason.
He looks good, man. He looks really good.
He looks really good. He's going to have those moments where he can break out because nobody's going to be scheming for 80 because they can't. They don't have enough time in the week and they can develop specific gadget plays. And I'm not talking Joe Mixon throwing it to him or anything like that, but just certain sets and certain looks where he'll be able to just break free.
Yep.
He shows he has good hands. He's strong. He has potential. And I think Irv Smith is gonna pull a Hayden Hurst.
Yeah. I think so too.
He's gonna get 600 between 400 and 650 yards.
I think he'll have
5 or 6 tutties. Hopefully he walks out with jewelry and we say, thank you very much. Who's the next first-round tight end that didn't pan out that Joe Burrow can save their career and get him a bag of money in a year?
I mean, this is it. He did it with CJ. He did it with Hayden Hurst, and now he's going to do it with Irv Smith. Go back to
out of the three of them, Irv Smith is the most talented.
Probably, yeah. The only thing about Irv Smith is being able to stay on the field. He has had injury problems in his past. Now, again, like I said, if he can stay on the field, stay healthy, he's going to be probably play the best year of his entire career here in Cincinnati.
It's easier to stay healthy when you're not a focal point of the offense.
That's also true, right? They're not going to.
You're not going to get as many targets. He's not going to be in there for as many run package schemes.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he's going to be in there for some of it because we can't tip plays like that. But they're going to – his responsibility is a lot less than what it was in Minnesota, probably even a lot less than what it was in Alabama, where he's going to get opportunities and can he cash in on it?
Right.
You know, he is the fourth option on every passing play at best.
Right. How about on defense here? Let's take a look at defense. Who's going to be our most impressive player of the year?
Oh, what is it? Pratt and Wilson locked up. I really like Marcus Bailey.
I like him too. I just don't foresee him getting on the field in a whole lot.
Besides special teams.
Special teams, he's good.
He was almost a Pro Bowler for special teams. He's fantastic. What is it? Davis Gaither might have a good year.
Yeah.
I like Zach Carter.
Zach Carter's.
His performance is going to be critical in the secondary D-line guys. If we get production out of those cats, and Osai's ankle isn't as bad as what it originally sounds because he's day-to-day. I don't want him to play Sunday. Save him for Baltimore. Give him another week. But if Osai, Zach Carter,
I like that Zach Carter kid.
If the secondary D-line guys can give us meaningful quality stats, so, DJ, Sam, Trey can get breaths during the game. Yeah, Miles is going to be fine.
Yeah, he'll play on the outside.
Breakout.
Right.
They can do fun things with him.
Yeah, he's fast.
Because he's big enough to be a D lineman, an edge rusher, even for running plays. But he's fast enough that they can drop him back into coverage, a lot like what they do with Osai, and they can disguise him in like a linebacker type position where he can get a free rush on the quarterback. He could be a lot of fun. Because he's kind of buried in the depth chart. I don't know if he'll be able to be, the breakout guy. But when he gets his chances, he's going to look every part of a first-round pick.
But I'll say this too: it's not his year to be a breakout guy too. It's his year to get behind these veterans, and then when we need him to make a play, go out and make a play. Show that so that we were correct in drafting you first round, because a lot of people you and I from draft nights like the pick. I love it. And
a lot of people were like, "What are we doing?
Why didn't we get
He wants to catch patches. He wants to catch patches from Joe Burrow.
So do I.
Who the flip does?
Who doesn't? Everybody does.
Exactly.
Everybody does.
He just went on record saying it.
Yeah.
He was trying to force the Bengals' hand into drafting him.
That's right.
He wants
to be in Cincinnati. Yeah, he wants to be in Cincinnati. He wants to be in Jewelry.
What a time to be alive. People want to be in Cincinnati.
I know. This is crazy. Have you seen – I got to go back to this too. Every time I pull up Twitter, you know whose face I see is Orlando Brown. That dude loves being here. He loves it.
I thought Ted Karras is going to end up being the most lovable offensive lineman, and he probably will be. But Orlando Brown is going to give him a run for his money of being beloved in Cincinnati.
He loves it here, and we love him back.
We love him back.
We love him
He already 20 around the city. Oh, yeah. And he took less to come.
He did. He took less to come, and he came out.
The Jets offered him more.
Yeah. And Orlando,
and he would rather protect Joey B over future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers.
That's a big say, man. He wants to be here. I was listening to an interview actually last night with Ted Karras when he went on Pat McAfee a couple months back to talk about Cincinnati, and he talked about, and he said, so they asked him like, so what's been going on in Cincinnati? What made you sign there? He said, it just seems like it was the right. It's just this is the right place for me to be. It's like he just loved everything about it. I mean, hearing that come from a Super Bowl winning center on a lot of great teams.
Brady.
I played with Brady. He said on the interview he got offered way more to go play elsewhere, but he just said he just thought like this is where I need to be. This is where I can be, and this is where I want to be. And again, it goes back to it seems like these guys just love being in Cincinnati.
How much has your opinion changed on the Zach Taylor hire?
I mean, beyond a reasonable doubt. I gotta say,
I am still dumbfounded.
What a turnaround for him.
Well, the 2-14 season, I was even after that season, I was all in on him because I liked what he was trying to do.
I will admit I was not, but
the culture he has built,
incredible.
Where and it's not. I mean, Burrow has a lot to do with the culture, but it always starts at the top, and it is what a fantastic hire.
Yeah,
I mean, the Bengals hit a home run.
They did,
and how they're not the national media isn't talking about him as a top 5 coach in this league right now is absolutely insane.
It's almost as insane as Lou Anarumo not being a head coach. It's almost that insane.
Oh, we had our tinfoil hats on that a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I promise you he turned that down. Or he pulled his name out at Arizona.
Yeah, I mean
that was the only job he interviewed.
Yeah.
I think he took a look at that and was like, "Oh no,
I'm out.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good right here.
I'm good.
Yeah,
some dudes they start going through the head coaching interview process, and they might even say, "This isn't for me." Look at Dick LeBeau, fantastic DC. He was hot dog, bleep me out when he was the head coach here.
We can curse on here. You can curse on here. Yeah.
But
I know. I don't know if your little man is maybe watching.
He's heard worse. I took him to the Jets game. He heard plenty.
Oh, I'm sure he heard plenty. So, Brad, let's bring it up Zach Taylor. And, we're singing his praises, and all praises well deserved. What is something you want to see Zach Taylor get better at this year? Because there's always room for improvement. And
we've talked about this before.
We don't script any of this, by the way. So
obviously, because and I said sometimes be a little more aggressive, and then when we really talked it through a little bit, he's been aggressive, plenty, borderline nuts calls. Yep. I would maybe. I mean, it's as pathetic as it. When he challenges.
Challenges.
What do you think on this?
Well, I think one thing that Zach Taylor has not been great at his entire time tenure here, but he's gotten better every single year, is offensive play calling, and not within 2 minutes of the end of the half and 2 minutes to end the game, because I think he's one of the best coaches at the 2-minute drill. I think he really is one of the best NFL coaches at the 2-minute drill. His time and clock management are wonderful, but it's what's happening the rest of the game. I want to see him clean up. I want to see more consistent play calling. I want to see a little more
creativity,
a little more use of everybody on the field.
After the 25 scripted, first 25 scripted, and before the last 2 minutes of the half, and then better halftime adjustments.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's so much halftime adjustments because I think the Bengals do a great job of that. And again, like you were talking about
We're
with this
splitting
Bengals
hairs.
team, we are splitting microscopic hairs here on Zach Taylor. And again, that's just something he's got to get better at. I would like to see him get better at. I was one of the people that during last year and the year before, I was calling for Zach Taylor to stop calling plays and to give it off to Brian Callahan. Now, I flipped it around. I do want Zach Taylor to continue to call plays, especially like I said, the end of the half and the end of the game. I think he's incredible. Which is now, to be fair, we're coming from Marvin Lewis to Zach Taylor, so maybe I'm a little blinded by the light a little bit here. But another thing.
I mean, he has out-schemed Andy Reid 4 times.
Out-schemed him, straight up out-schemed him. That's it.
And people say, Andy Reid is the best coach in the NFL right now. Okay. He's 1-0 against Bill Belichick. He struggled. He has struggled against Cleveland, and there are plenty of exterior factors of why his record against the Clowns isn't that great. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you look at him when he's gone head to head against the top-notch coaches. He has a losing record against Sean McVay too. Unfortunately, But the Super Bowl, on paper, the Rams were the better team. And I firmly believe we out-schemed them in that game.
Yeah.
And when we played them in London, they were way better than us. They were a Super Bowl team, and we were 2-14, and we had them shaking in their boots at the end of that game. So we out-schemed them in that game. Now Zach Taylor has the equal personnel with all these cats. This is his year to not only win the jewelry, but also get him some hardware to put on a shelf with a Coach of the Year type thing.
I mean, how can you not award it to him, a guy that's done something quite like Zach Taylor has? I mean, the organization where he picked up to where he's running the ball with now. I mean, my God, what a change. A change of philosophy, culture, personnel,
facilities.
Facilities. Guys who they bring in, guys who they draft. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that is beloved by his players, a coach that's beloved by his players. It's Zach. And
have you watched that Beyond the Jungle or Behind the Scenes of the Jungle, the Bengals little all access, the Jungle all access?
Yeah, the Heart of the Jungle. That? Yeah, I did.
How Logan Wilson talked about him before Logan signed his extension was like, the crib keeper always on the money. No, not so much razzle dazzle at the goal line.
That's big. And that's accurate and that's fair. I agree with crib keeper. That's 100% fair. We have a team now that can go.
You don't like shovel passes on fourth and goal. No shovel passes on fourth.
No, God, for the love of God, stop with the fucking shovel passes. Stop with the
fourth and goal.
Stop with the shovel passes, man.
Period.
Yes, yeah. Throw it out of the playbook. I have never seen it work once. Not a design
for the Bengals.
For the Bengals, I've never seen a designed shovel pass from the Bengals work. Never.
Or a Jamar Chase jet sweep.
I don't like that either. Not in short yardage situation. There's no reason for it, and there's especially not a reason this year because the Bengals' offensive line is pretty freaking solid. Now there's really no reason to do that. Yeah.
Strap up and move the chains.
I mean, you're talking about Zach Taylor, and I was in my car today after work, and the NFL Films they did a great piece. And they just put it out on Twitter of Zach Taylor giving the bars footballs after the game, after the playoff wins.
That might be one of the coolest traditions.
I love it.
It is just Cincinnati.
Yeah. Nobody else does it.
Nobody else has done it. That is Zach Taylor's brainchild, and it is by far the coolest thing ever.
It's so cool. The players love it. Zach loves it. Fans love it. I mean, what a connection. What a connection for him to do that.
And we've talked about this offline. The Bengals are really starting to embrace, okay, we're small market, but we can do things in our small market that you can't do in New York, that you can't do in San Francisco, that you can't do in LA. You can't do it in Philly.
Can't.
And you can do it in the Green Bays. You can do it in the Cincinnatis. You can probably do it in the Kansas Cities. But you can't, like, we can almost have that college feel to who we are, what we are with the interaction with the fans. And, the Bengals, we could do a Bengals walk of the players going through the tailgates like they do at colleges. Yeah. And it would be controlled and it would be flipping amazing.
It'd be awesome. It'd be awesome, man. And you brought it up. Like, there's just things we can do that you can do in a small market that you can't do in a big market. And having this
which gets players excited. Hey, we can't rip off the Lambeau Leap, but hey, I want to give the game ball. I want to go with coach to give the game ball to the bars.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Because this city, man, they love their Bengals. They love Cincinnati. They love winners. And you want to talk just connection. And that's something that the Bengals organization has just perfected over the past 2 years.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Perfected. Thank you, Elizabeth. And now you brought up college. I think it's a perfect segue.
Yeah, I did. I threw you a slow ball there.
Yeah, you did. So let's go ahead and jump on over to the Cincinnati Bearcats, who had themselves a hell of a start to the regular season with an absolute ass whooping on Eastern Kentucky. Brad, did you happen to have any chance to watch the game or watch the highlights?
I know the quarterback had seven touchdowns.
7 touchdowns.
7 tutties.
Mm-hmm. So
that's pretty good. A lot of people are starting to forget the name of the predecessor as head ball coach because his new team didn't look as sharp in their cupcake opening week game.
No, they do not. They did not. They never did. They really never did. That was one thing that Scott Satterfield, who's a coach now, who I thought, that was a huge change because the offense looks. One of the things that it looks sharp. It looks sharp, and it's not like the Bearcats have not had guys on their offense that were incredible. They had Desmond Ridder, who's a starting quarterback now
in the league.
Yep. You got Trey Scott and Chris Tucker, who were all pro or are going to be, I think, all pro wide receivers. Alec Pierce, who's a starting wide receiver for the Colts.
Jerome Ford
playing for the Browns, getting significant snaps for the Browns. I mean, it's not like he didn't have guys. Scott Satterfield's, he's got a lot of transfers. I think one thing too, Scott has a great understanding of NIL and the portal and exactly how to get guys. He brought in a lot of dudes from Florida, brought in, some dudes from Louisville. And this offense looked sharp, and the offensive line looked dominant, and it looked like they could pretty much do whatever they wanted from the snap. And it looked like this is going to be an aggressive Bearcats offense. Now let's bring it over to the real test, which is this week, the renewal of the River City rivalry, the Bearcats versus the Pittsburgh Panthers in Heinz Field, the site of
it's something else. It's like It's not Heinz anymore, just so you know.
Oh, it's I know what it is. You're right. It changed. It's not Heinz Field. It's something stupid.
It is something stupid.
It's something stupid. Yeah. I do remember that.
It's a mouthful of jumbled letters.
Yeah. Sweet Caroline. Eat shit, Pitt. We're freaking ready, man. So I think this is going to be a big test. I mean, if the Bears,
it's a trophy game, right? Isn't it like a paddle boat?
Yeah. So it was the cool. It was. I gotta say,
it's a pretty cool trophy. I did see it on.
It's a dope
on the socials.
Trophy. It's a dope trophy, and they're not renewing it. They're not renewing the rivalry, and they're not having the trophy out there. Which I hate.
Trophy isn't gonna. There's gonna be. It's not a trophy game.
No, it's not, and that sucks because this is probably my favorite rivalry of UC's old rivals, probably of their new rivals, minus Xavier. I think this is my favorite by far, especially in football, definitely because Cincinnati versus Pittsburgh. I love every single matchup. The Reds and the Pirates have a rivalry. Bengals, Steelers. Why not Bearcats, Pittsburgh Panthers? Like, why can't we keep that going?
Yeah.
Everybody in Cincinnati hates Pittsburgh.
It's not a bad out of conference game.
No, it's great. I wish they do it every year. I think that'd be awesome. But they don't, which sucks. But we're going to get it this week on Saturday at 6:30. One of the interesting things, so Pat Narduzzi, the coach of Pitt, was asked, what do you think is the best part of the Bearcats offense? And he came out straight away and said, probably their wide receivers. Going into the season, that was the Bearcats' biggest question mark. Their wide receiving room, they had one scholarship wide receiver coming from last year's team to this year's team. This is entirely new wide receiver group. And for the head coach of your next opponent to say that is their best part of their team, I mean, what a change does that say about Scott Satterfield and his understanding of the portal?
Understanding of the portal, knows how to recruit to, a Power 5 conference.
Yeah.
Lot of pluses. And I'm happy for him that he looked the part on his opening Saturday and that they didn't struggle and, the whispers and the frustration because
right.
It is tough to replace a legend.
Right. And Luke Fickell is a legend. He'll be a legend at UC forever.
There's going to be a statue of Luke Fickell outside of Nippert at some point in our lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be crazy if it doesn't.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Deservedly so.
Playoff, New Year's Six Bowl.
Back-to-back years of undefeated regular season, back-to-back conference championships.
Yeah, that is
recruiting
statue worthy. He's the reason why the Bearcats got invited to the Big 12.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it is a real, and it's not as, I'm not saying UC isn't a pressure cooker of an institution.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard anywhere. And I always feel for guys like Bill O'Brien flamed out at Penn State. He couldn't handle it. Yeah. I feel sorry for the next guy at Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
They still haven't found Urban's replacement at Florida.
Right. They haven't.
It took 20 years to find a guy to replace Phil Fulmer at Tennessee. It is tough to follow a legend at a big program. And so hats off to Satterfield if you can keep it rolling.
Right. Yeah.
That is a tough ask, especially jumping up a level conference wise.
Absolutely. Right. Exactly. They're playing a Big 12 schedule this year, as you know, so it's going to be difficult. They got Oklahoma coming in. That's going to be the big noon kickoff, which I think is going to be a massive party, especially if both the Bearcats and Oklahoma come in undefeated 3-0 and 3-0 in Nippert Stadium. I mean, that's going to be electric. And that was another thing too. One of the biggest worries that I had going into this year is how the fans were going to be. Because to go from Luke Fickell to Scott Satterfield, before the season started, it was deflating. It really was. It was deflating. And the diehard fans like me, we were going to be there and we were going to be with the team. What was that atmosphere going to be like? And it did not disappoint. I mean, the whiteout, I'm not a fan of whiteout. I will never be a fan of whiteout at UC. Our colors are black, sometimes red, but we are black. That's it. Our colors are black. But the whiteout looked amazing. The stadium was packed. I was actually out.
When it's 90 degrees, it's hard to do a blackout.
I get it. I get it.
Be honest.
I get it.
White's a cooler color, temperature-wise. Temperature-wise.
Okay. All right. Fair point. You got you got me there. I understood why we did it. I understand it. But we were packed in there. We were shoulder to shoulder. It was
the season sold out. You can't get tickets.
Right. It's sold
through
out.
UC. You got to go secondary market.
This fan base is ready to keep going. They're
keep it going. Absolutely.
Keep it going. Right. Luke Fickell's gone. All right. Now Scott Satterfield. Now it's your turn. They got a big test this week. I'll tell you, the Bearcats jumped up 19 spots in the ranking. They're now at 30th, which is huge because going into this year, the expectations for this team, my expectations were, if we can win 6 games, that is a successful season.
We talked about this bowl eligibility. If
they can get to a bowl, it's a successful season.
and you get a Big 12 bowl.
You're right. You get a Big 12 bowl. You're right. It's no longer an American Athletic Conference bowl, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so Crypt Keeper, again, keeping us on our toes with a question. Do you think Coach Scott Satterfield should open a car dealership for NIL money? Because Scott Satterfield Chevrolet sounds good. I love it. I love it. I do think that one of the things that Dabo Swinney is struggling with now, and you're seeing established coaches now struggle with, is the NIL. I think Luke Fickell had a really good grasp on it this year. And this is one of my put your tinfoil hats on. I do think Cincinnati is going to be one of the schools that benefits the most from NIL being a thing. Because if you looked at Miami in the early stages of the U, they had guys coming in and they were getting money under the table, and they were a little bit cash here and there. Now it's legal. And Cincinnati is one of the, I think it was voted a couple years ago by Better Business Bureau as the number one spot to open up small businesses. Now, if you have opening small businesses up, not only are players going to be like, okay, you can go to Alabama and you can not get an NIL deal and you could probably sit for the 4 or 5 years, or you can come to Cincinnati and be a star right out the gate and get a couple $100,000 right in your pocket. So I think Cincinnati is going to benefit heavily from NIL deals, but they have to do it right. And they have to have the right guy in there. And our athletic director, John Cunningham, I do trust him. He's gained equity and he's gained trust. He's got us into the Big 12. He's kept Luke Fickell around for longer than more coaches stay at any school. He's done well with the basketball program. The renovations.
Yeah, Wes Miller was a great hire too.
Wes Miller is a great hire. We're already seeing the benefits of it with his recruiting classes. So Scott Satterfield, again, if he can take that ball and run with it, and I think he can. I think Cincinnati is going to turn into not only a great football program, but a football program powerhouse. That's going to start getting some of these 4 or 5 star guys.
Well, and I remember I'm not a big Bearcat fan. You did promise me a Bobcat take this week, so I'm going to hold you that before we go. But I remember hearing Mo Egger say, and Fickell was great at this, and we'll see if Satterfield is can you see when the state of Cincinnati recruiting wise? Because Cincinnati, that the 50, 75 mile radius around, just right outside the Beltway, around the city, there is enough talent from Dayton through Northern Kentucky to build a very good Division I program.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you can cherry pick from other places. But if he can win the state of Cincinnati, that 100 miles or so, 75 miles around Cincinnati, that they will be a force because there's enough talent here. Yeah. And can the Cincinnati brand get strong enough to compete with that school, that podunk school in Columbus, to compete and really establish themselves as another power football team in the state of Ohio?
I agree. I think that's definitely a big ask, but I think it's something that they can definitely do. I think the state of Cincinnati, I think that was established by Luke Fickell. Now, like you said, can Scott Satterfield run with it? Now, can he continue that? You've seen him. He got some guys from Florida. He's getting some guys from out of town, which is awesome. That's great. They're talented. Let's bring them in. But you got enough talent here. My God, look at look at NFL rosters. How many of those guys from Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, and that eastern part of Indiana?
Littered with them.
Littered with them. Then you can start working up in Detroit because you have Sauce Gardner and Kobe Bryant, who both came from Detroit. And now, if Sauce Gardner goes back to his high school and he's dressed in all Jets gear, and he says, man, I went to Cincinnati. I was out in 3 years, and I was one of the highest paid. I was one of the best cornerbacks in college football. You can go there and be a legend. Forget Michigan. Forget Ohio State. Go be a legend at Cincinnati. Because Sauce is a legend now.
It's all what the kid wants, and the NIL is going to have so much to do with it. And that is another conversation for another day. We could have a whole show on tinfoil hats, what certain programs, especially locally, can do with NIL. Not to get way off topic, but the University of Dayton will win a national title in men's basketball in the next 10 years if they can figure out NIL.
Ooh,
there is so much old money in Dayton, and
Mhm.
the Dayton Flyers are the only game in town. They don't have football. Wright State is a joke. Miami is more Cincinnati than Dayton. It is the only game in town. And when they figure out how to manipulate NIL, they're going to win a national championship. You heard it here.
Man. Hey man, they were going to be in the national championship just a couple years ago until the tournament got canceled. That's probably one of the biggest letdowns of all time, because that team, not only was that team
was
starved,
that team was fun to watch.
Obi Top.
I got to see Obi go in between the legs live at a game in the arena. You want atmosphere for a college basketball game? Put it on your bucket list. Go up, 75 North. Go watch a game at the UD Arena. I'll get us tickets.
All right, that sounds awesome. I'd love to.
It is. I took a fan from the other university in Cincinnati, the junior college there that wears blue. I'm getting better at it.
Yep, there you go. You're doing really good.
And he was floored at the arena experience as opposed to the Big East experience at that Banana Arena or whatever it's called.
Right. I will say. I'm a Flyers fan. I know I'm usually on a hate wagon for a lot of teams. I like the Flyers. I like to see them do good. I was cheering for them in the tournament. They're a good squad. All right, you want my
and a fun place to party. Real fun place. UD Ghetto is legit, kids.
So you wanted my Ohio University Bobcat.
Absolutely.
Take.
I'm a proud Bobcat, as you know.
All right. Put your tinfoil hat on, because we're going to go back a while. So obviously we know that Ohio University is the oldest college in all of Ohio, one of the oldest colleges in all the country. Mm-hmm. I think if Ohio University put into their athletics and into football, they would have 5 national championships by this point. Because I'll explain. Because
I completely agree.
Yeah, because
this is another show, but go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, because you look around the landscape, and one of the biggest knockbacks on that would be, well, OU's in the middle of nowhere. Well, so is Clemson, so is Penn State. They're in the middle of Happy Valley is the middle of nowhere.
Oh yeah, State College, PA is literally nowhere.
Clemson,
Blacksburg, Virginia
is nowhere. Clemson in Death Valley is nowhere. I visited the campus. There's nothing there. I mean, so
Tuscaloosa, Alabama, nowhere. I mean, Athens, Georgia. I mean, I'm sure it's blowing up a lot more now, but at the time when they started, it was probably nowhere. No, my beloved OU did not think to invest 100 years ago into their sports.
Mm-hmm.
And they really should have fought for the name Ohio a lot sooner than they did.
Yeah.
We should leave on that as I go in a corner and cry. But if OU was that powerhouse, and I go back to this because I've gone down that fantasy wagon on more than one occasion. It's a very special place.
Mm-hmm.
Because we didn't need the sports to be good. And it's a really special place. And if it was a 5 national champion, then you meet somebody wearing an OU hat, they have a very special connection to the university. They did not buy that at Walmart.
That's true.
In Dayton, Ohio.
That's true.
So
that's
my saving grace.
That's a fair point. OU is a very special place. I've been there many a times. Went there a lot during my college years. Fun. God, fun place.
Yeah,
Fun place. Athens is a good time, man. Athens is a good time. All right, brother. We are at an hour 9, officially our longest show for our week 1 preseason or week 1 regular season of NFL football. And honestly, I feel like with college football, we left a lot on the table. We might have to start another show, Brad.
We might have to do 2 shows a week. Yeah.
We might have to start a new show. So we have the BackRow Bengals show. We might have to start a college football show too.
There
Why
you go.
not? Why not?
Yeah. All right.
Why?
Who you got tonight?
Tonight, I'm taking Detroit. I think with Travis Kelce being out and it being a ring ceremony and a banner ceremony, I think the Chiefs are going to be sipping a little bit of champagne, and they're probably looking at this game as not too important. And you know, and all I see in the grand scheme of things is really not that important, other than it's the first game of the NFL season. It's important for us.
They'll win that game, or they'll win that division with 11 wins.
Absolutely. And Brad, do you feel that? Do you feel that? As the start of the football season. Officially. Let's go. I'm excited. I heard Bailey in the back. He's excited. Yeah. Let's go.
All right, man. I got to go.
All right, brother. We're going to be out. This has been the Back Row Cincinnati Bengals show, brought to you by fansided.com. You can check us all out on Twitter and YouTube. Just look up the name and you'll find us. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. Thank you, Crypt Keeper, Day One Gangsta. Always been around. I appreciate it. And we will be out. We'll see you guys next week for the recap and the review and the preview for the Baltimore Ravens. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And hooday!
Hooday!